a video about my, this is going to be a video about my opinion on, like, discipline versus abuse. And we're going to go, oh, she's one of these people that endorses spanking her kid, even though she's not a parent. Well, no, I'm not a parent, you're right. But there are some things that I want to address. I do not support abuse. I do not support blatantly hitting your kid. I do not support hitting your kid as a first resort. I do not, support calling your kid names. I do not support treating your kid like garbage. When I was a kid, I was corrected in a few different ways. I was warned when I was doing something wrong. I was warned. I was, there would be the, tap with just the open hand. I was never hit with a closed fist. But your mother would, even if a kid hasn't been hit, they've usually been that being done to them, and the finger waggle and the stop it or else. And, some kids listen, or some kids just, they end up getting grounded or something, or not, usually physically disciplined because it's just not the style anymore. If I didn't listen after I got my ass fanned. And there were different methods of that, and none of them left bruises on me or welts, generally. So, if you think it's barbaric and you think it's violent, don't do it. Don't. And I'm not going to comment on, oh, your kid's going to run wild and be a savage, because I don't know the temperament of you or your household or the temperament of your kid originally. If you have kids that are perfect little angels that all you have to do is say, stop that, and they stop because they feel bad that you even had to tell them once, then good for you, because you have easy kids, from what I've been told by other parents. And not that I was a really bad kid, but every time I got hit or, had my ass fanned, it was earned. I had done something to deserve it. My parents never hit me just out of spite, just to hit me. It was, my dad worked long hours, so it was usually my mom that corrected us. I do not agree with anything that leaves a bruise, that could possibly break a bone, that could possibly do internal damage, that could possibly do, damage to the person's brain. I do not approve of those kinds of things. If you smack someone across the face, that's different than smacking them across the mouth. Because if you hit them across the face, you're hitting them here, 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 across the mouth. That was usually done for saying something smart, or cursing when you weren't supposed to, which you're not supposed to at all, technically, but when you're younger, you're really not supposed to. And like I said, none of the times that my mom hit me did I ever get bruised, but I realize that some people bruise easy, so my mom could have been hitting me very hard and I just didn't bruise, and, I remember her hitting me, but it didn't leave any lasting damage. I didn't end up with, a broken jaw or anything. And, I realize different kids have softer skin or, are easily injured. And it doesn't mean that they're wimpy or something. It just means that, they are. That's just part of them. And I realize some kids also respond to having privileges taken away, like their iPads or their video games or, their television privileges or, having to go to bed earlier than normal. And if that works for your kid, that's perfectly fine. And I, not being a parent myself, cannot comment on what I would do with my own kids, actually. But I'm just letting people know what happened in my childhood and the fact that it didn't leave any emotional scars or trauma or anything. I have issues, but there are things that I have. It's not something that developed from that. Like, I have depression and anxiety. It's not from those things. Because those things, when I got hit or corrected or, disciplined or whatever you want to call it, I knew what it was for. My parents always made a point of making sure that we knew what we did wrong and why it was wrong. whether they told us before or after. And they usually gave us some kind of hint before. As I said, they warned us. They would warn us, stop doing that. You're going to hurt yourself. Stop doing that. That's wrong. Stop doing that. You're going to break something. Stop doing that. And they would tell us that. And they usually would tell us about 5 or 6 times before they would actually even lift a hand to us. So, my parents are not, it wasn't, and I'm going to say parent or guardian, because there were times when my grandmother corrected me, there were times when my uncles corrected me, and, my mom corrected me, whoever was watching me or babysitting me when I was a kid. And yes, after I got so old, it kind of wasn't needed as much. So, but people automatically rule out any kind of physical discipline because they're afraid of what repercussions might happen, either to them because of the law and children's services and social services and things like that, or because of, what if I hurt my kid? What if if you feel like your kid is not going to fare well with it, and you feel like your kid is going to end up with some kind of psychological or physical damage, by all means, don't do it. You know your kid. You know how your kid's going to respond. If your kid is going to end up with bruises, or possibly it's going to emotionally traumatize them, don't do it. But if you do it, make sure that that the kid knows what they did wrong and why it was wrong. Because as a kid, not only do you hear you're wrong, but you hear you're wrong for no reason, unless the adult says, that was bad. You shouldn't have been doing that. You could have seriously hurt yourself or someone else. You could have broken your leg or broken your neck. That's usually what it was. It was the type of things where, it was little things, but little things that could have turned into big mistakes because you were a little kid and you didn't know. And I say you were because my brother also was disciplined in a similar manner. And I say by far he was worse, but who knows? Him watching through his eyes, seeing me and the stupid things I did, I might have looked like I was doing worse to him. I don't know. I feel like he got corrected more than me. But he also, had friends and went out without asking more than I did. And that's not to say that he's like a bad person or anything, but it's just, the way things were. And we live in a small town. We always have. We lived in this place forever. So, walking distance, everything is walking distance. So, whenever you leave and don't tell anybody and everyone has to walk around looking for you, that was a big deal. The only time that my parents ever hit us first was if it was something like it was repeated, like something that we had been corrected for before and we knew it was wrong and did it anyway. Like if we had gone through the yelling warnings, and then having our ass fanned or spanked or whatever for it one time, we should have got it and not ever done it again. But if we then did the same thing again, we knew it was wrong, we knew it was, bad, we got hit for it again. And usually it sunk in that time. Oh, so yawny. But yeah, just make sure that if you're gonna do it, I would say talk to your kid about it and say, everything else that we've tried with you didn't work, and you're not listening to us anymore when we say things to you verbally. You're not paying attention when we take away your privileges. So, we're going to try something else. But before we do, we want you to know the reason that we're doing it is because the thing that you're doing is wrong. The thing that you're doing is dangerous. The thing that you're doing could hurt you or someone else, or you're doing something incorrectly and you're doing it out of spite. That's another thing that get hit, was doing something just because mommy and daddy said you couldn't do it. And your parents know when you do that. For any kids that are watching this. And if there's any kids watching this that are like 12, 11 years old, don't write comments saying, if my mom ever lays a hand on me, I'm going to go to the cops. Because honestly, if you really stop and think about it, if your parent ever does lay a hand on you, you probably fucking earned that. Every time my mom slapped me across the mouth, I said something really rude. Every time I got my ass fanned, I earned that shit. And I grew up to be an intelligent, self-respecting person who doesn't have any long-lasting effects. But as I said earlier in the video, you know your child and you know his mannerisms or her mannerisms, and you know their temperament, and you know exactly how they're going to react probably, and you know if it's a good idea or not. I'm not telling anyone how to raise their kids. I'm just giving my opinion because maybe someone out there in internet land is curious. But I'm also not going to quote statistics. Before I end this video, I'm not going to quote any statistics. I know I already have done the video and haven't quoted any statistics, but I don't usually go by statistics because here's the thing. If you only get a group of 80 people and 40 of them have had bad experiences during something and 40 of them have had good experiences during something, but the 40 that had bad experiences, there were about 17 of them, it was special circumstances. It was circumstances where the mother was, like, let's say we are talking about it, abuse. I'm not bringing up actual statistics, so this is a for example thing, so it's kind of, rhetorical. But let's say there was 80 people, 40 had bad experiences with, let's say they just had bad childhoods or whatever. And 40 had good childhoods. And the special circumstances for the 17 was that the mother was a addict of some kind. The father was a alcoholic of some kind. But yet there were about 11 on the good side that their mother and father drank regularly, or their mother and father were known to smoke weed or something. But they weren't, So there could be reasons. There could be outside information that I don't have a clue on that could attribute to the statistics being a certain way. And I'm not saying that that means they are biased statistics. I'm just saying that if you don't have all the information, you can't do a proper statistic. And that's why I don't go by statistics. I'm going to hang up this video now and let you do what you want. And as per usual, like and subscribe if you want to. I'm not forcing you, but it would be really nice. Leave a comment telling me what your opinion and personal experience may or may not have been, whatever. Look at the description. There's my Vine, my Twitter, my Tumblr, my Facebooks, my SoundCloud, everything. Please come back for repetitive content and reasonable words. I don't know. Thank you for watching.